Callie, Episode 1, The Gaze. Fear consumed his mind. The howling of a dozen voices filled the room. They chanted words in an ancient language as they performed a ritual and bowed down to a huge dancing statue. The flames from the torches flickered, casting frightening shadows on the damp walls. It was the dance of death. Imminent, slow, desperate. Let me go. Oh God, what have I done to deserve this? Slowly a shadow approached him. From under the hood, two eyes glinted with madness and cruelty. His gaze was intense and greedy. Be quiet. Is this how you meet your death? Accept it, be humble and respectful while facing your fate. Several hands roughly grabbed the man and threw him at the stranger's feet. He leaned over the victim with his lips stretched into a smile. There was something terrifying in this grin, which made the man lower his head and burst into tears. Only then he realized that death was inevitable. Smooth metal flashed in the stranger's hands. He raised his fist with a dagger in it. Take him, O Great One! A scarlet spray splattered the walls and the massive statue. There was a loud scream in the room. The chorus of voices began to sing louder. The shadows continued their dance. Then there was nothing but darkness and a female laughter. Calcutta, 1980. I opened my eyes and sat up startled. I looked around nervously, trying to figure out what was going on. My head was buzzing, as if had been struck hard. It was hot, and the sun was burning mercilessly. I was lying under a canopy, carefully sheltered from the sun's rays. It was noisy, crowded, but no one was paying attention to me. A man leaned over me, staring at me with a searching look. I shuddered, remembering the shadow from my dream. What was that, exactly? The choice you make now will change the course of the story. Some choices change the plot only slightly, while others lead to major changes. Minnie's leaning over you, so I guess I'll go jump back, because you don't know what's going on. I was scared speechless, and all I could do was recoil from him, my back pressed against the crates I was sitting by. The man raised his eyebrows in surprise, but remained calm. Frozen in place, I looked up at his face. He frowned, perplexed. Our eyes met. Letting out a sigh of relief, I realized that this was a completely different person. His face was calm, and his cold gray eyes were emotionless. Gray eyes. He didn't seem to be from India. Are you Amala Khan? He speaks English. Yes. My voice sounded hoarse and uncertain. I cleared my throat, trying to stand up. Yes, that's me. The man immediately came closer, gently taking me by my elbow and helping me stand up. Careful. You got hurt when you fainted. Fainted? Yes, don't you remember? I was following you when I saw you faint. The vendor was very scared. I'm not sure whether he was scared for you or because you weren't going to buy anything. I racked my brain, trying to remember the moments leading up to my fainting spell. My gaze fell on the vendor, the owner of the canopy tent under which I was just lying. The elderly man observed us the entire time, smiling. Sunstroke. Would the lady buy anything? He spoke to me in Hindi, a language spoken in most of India. I looked down at the stall, the jewelry laid out on it and gleaming in the sunlight. Such beautiful jewels. That's why I ended up in Calcutta's bazaar. I wanted to get something to remember the city by before going to the British Embassy. Looking back to the man, I said, "You said you were following me." Yes. My name is Killian Lightwood. I'm a military attaché. I will be escorting your task force. Take what you need and let's get going. They've been waiting for us quite some time now. The vendor smiled. He clearly didn't want me to leave empty-handed because of my fainting spell. Take your pick, madame. Kalan, sapphires, cashmere emeralds, rupees from Subramania, natural, not synthetic. Even though Killian didn't understand Hindi, he still grimaced at the vendor's over-eager tone. Peddler. A mayor is no peddler. The vendor suddenly switched to English. Was he not speaking English? What? I thought he was speaking English this entire time. Me only sells fine jewelry with natural stone. I fought back a smile, concentrating on what to pick for myself. We have an emerald pendant, ruby necklace, sapphire pendant. Looks like ruby and sapphire. Emerald really stands out. Emeralds. These green stones sparkle so beautifully in the sunlight. A noble stone, it suits you, madame. Any stone will suit such a beautiful girl. I thanked Amir, paid him, and then proceeded to follow Killian. People were scurrying back and forth, preoccupied with their lives, their voices lost in the din of the street. Beggars clung to well-dressed men and women, pleading for at least one ruby. They reached out with their thin arms, brazenly tugging at their sleeves, demanding attention and money. The locals briskly shoved the poor away from them, brushed off their clothes, and quickened their pace. The eyes of the beggars lit up as they all took me in. It was far easier to beg a foreigner for money rather than a local who could push back more confidently. I slowed down, unsure how to get around the small crowd of beggars that had gathered around me. I was saved before I could do anything. Killian gently took me by my elbow and led me through the crowd, shooing away the poorly dressed girls and boys. They were smart enough not to pester such a large and not very friendly-looking man. I could barely keep up with him. He had broad shoulders and a strong grip. I had no doubt that by my side, I was safe as if I were behind a stone wall. Killian walked with a perfectly straight back and his gaze fixed ahead of him. The impeccable way he carried himself made it immediately clear that he was a military man. He was perfect for our mission. Are you here because of the missing British diplomat, too? Yes, same as you. I'm not familiar with the details of the case. Can you tell me more about it? You'll find out soon enough. So tight-lipped. Still, I had to leave London in a rush. I couldn't even refuse. And now my younger brother is all alone in England. I dropped everything to come to India. I heard the man take a deep breath. Fine, but I'll be brief. God, getting him to talk is like pulling teeth. A British government sent a diplomat on an important mission to India after the country gained independence from the British about 30 years ago. We periodically send diplomats to monitor compliance with, some crucial provisions. As you already know, our diplomat is missing. So we're going to look for him? Yes, together with other members of a task force. We passed through the crowd of beggars, and Killian let go of my hand. So you're a captain in the army? Yes, and you're idologist, I gather. I have a degree in Indoology, but I have no work experience. No work experience? None. I wasn't able to get any, due to some personal reasons. His face seemed to flush with annoyance. This is a very important matter. Personal reasons. An inexperienced Indiologist could ruin everything. Some choices increase snake in independence or loyalty. Looks like a flower. An independent heroine is more concerned with herself and does not adapt to others. A loyal heroine is more compassionate and is easier for her to interact with others. Or I could just play like myself. Who does he think he is? Explain. You're crossing a line. I was chosen, which means I'll be useful. I was one of the top students in my class. He just shrugged. Fine. But what were the reasons that prevented you from working? I brushed him off. Problems at home. Someone had to run the family shop. I was the only one who could do it. I had no choice. Family shop? Indian goods. They're in demand in London. The expression on his face seemingly softened. We were almost at the embassy. He slowed down and started walking alongside me. Do you have family in India? I smiled. No, my family moved to England long ago. He nodded. We headed to the embassy's gates. We walked in the meeting room, where we were already expected. The room was cool, clean. After the hot and noisy streets of Calcutta, it felt like paradise. A long rectangular table made of dark oak stood in the center of it, with two people leaning over some papers. I saw an older man and a younger woman. They turned around as they heard us coming in, and I saw their faces. "Captain, we've already arrived." A man walked over to Killian, smiled broadly at him, and extended his hand for a handshake. He didn't even glance at me. Killian shook the man's hand. "Good day, Mr. Rose. I found my Indiologist." Only after that, Mr. Rose deigned to look at me. "Oh, yes, you are here too." "I'm Ala Khan at your service." I managed to squeeze out a grin. I had an unpleasant feeling. Isn't it convenient, being an Indologist and half of Indian at the same time? I don't get the joke, but okay. I was born and raised in England. My ethnicity is irrelevant. I mean, it's true. I walked past Mr. Rose without giving him a second glance. Mr. Rose, the task force leader, and immediately set to work on the papers he had been studying before our arrival. "You have shown that dignity is more important to you than a relationship." I guess that he was not going to introduce us. No respect whatsoever. He's clearly one of those people who believe that women belong in the kitchen, not at work. I'm not gonna make a joke. Nope, not gonna touch that one with a 50-foot pole. I decided to introduce myself first. "I'm Ala Khan, even though you did that 2 seconds ago." The woman smiled gratefully and held out her hand in response. "It's lovely to meet you. I am Lima Berg, criminologist." I looked at the captain, puzzled. Criminologist? Aren't we just looking for the diplomat?" "We have to be ready for anything." The captain walked over to Mr. Rose and began discussing something with him. I didn't like his answer. Ready for anything? What does that even mean? "Let's get everyone up to speed. Our task force is small. We don't need any publicity." "That's right, Captain, which is why I only share with you the necessary details." We sat at the table across from each other, listening intently. The captain handed me a document with important information. The document. Okay. "Here's all the latest information on the diplomat. What time he flew in, what hotel he checked in at, where he went, where he was last seen. Study this document carefully. Our job, as you all know, is to find this British diplomat. He arrived 2 weeks ago. 5 days ago, he went silent." "What was the purpose of his visit to Calcutta?" "That's classified officially. It was a diplomatic visit. However, he was tasked with obtaining some necessary information and relaying it to the British government." Killian said the diplomat wanted to make sure that some key provisions related to the Indian Independence Act were being followed. I guess the captain told me too much. In that moment, I caught gray eyes staring at me. I pursed my lips and looked away. "Don't worry, I won't tell." How are we supposed to investigate his disappearance if we don't even know the purpose of his visit? I don't understand what's going on. I was taken away from my work, sent on this important mission to India, but you won't even give me all the details? "You don't need all the details." He gave the criminologist an arrogant look. I don't like this. I'll say it directly. I agree, it's difficult to work when you don't know what's going on. Maybe you should expect us to pull a solution out of thin air, but I don't see that happening. It's not very nice to be ordered to leave your home, sent to a foreign country just to investigate something so vague. Mr. Rose listened silently, glaring. Lima is right. Don't expect us to be particularly productive given the circumstances. Mr. Rose hissed at me through clenched teeth. Anyway, Miss Khan, all you're going to get from me is the document. Nothing more, nothing less. I started feeling a little tense. There was no information the higher-ups were keeping from us, or something from us, and everyone in this team was so different, and I need to be able to work with all of them. I looked over the members of the task force. With you, everything is crystal clear. You're a bully who thinks women are beneath him. And you are a no-nonsense, disciplined military man. I hope we're going to understand each other, and you and I. You and you... How did you end up here? A female criminologist in a male-dominated law enforcement agency, where a lot of people are like Rose. You are... I mean, it is 1980, so we'll go with incredible. I thought about it, smiled, and observing the woman. Li-Min noticed my gaze and returned it with a friendly smile. You are becoming friends. Mr. Rose unceremoniously gathered the papers into a stack and addressed everyone. Go on, you need to get settled and get used to all of this. Read the document, study it carefully. Tomorrow we'll get to work. The man looked at Killian. Captain Lightwood, escort the ladies, it would be safer that way. Killian nodded curtly in response. The leader of our task force left the room, slamming the door behind him. Lima exhaled noisily, throwing a sharp glare at the door. Who does he think he is? Does he think we can't take care of ourselves? That's not it. It's just not safe for foreign women to travel anywhere on their own in India. Especially in poor areas where people in lower castes live. Castes? Killian silently listened to our conversation, assessing me. There is a caste system in India. Your future is determined by your family's caste. The upper have a lot, whereas the lower might have nothing. That sounds awfully harsh. Why do they agree to live by such rules? This is a very ancient system that has been in place for thousands of years. The system is sacred to some people. Are people in the lower caste considered dangerous? Not necessarily, but the locals have a Bengali saying, honey on the lips, poison in the soul. This means that you shouldn't believe everything that people tell you. Their true motives can be very different. She paused, thinking about something, then she shrugged. Well, I don't mind. I don't speak Hindi anyway. We are not just in India. We're in West Bengal. There are many different dialects that even I don't speak. I looked over at Killian. That's why we need a military attaché. Yes, and it will be very much easier for me if you don't go anywhere, especially alone. And that was what we agreed on. After we dropped off Lima at the hotel, Killian escorted me by taxi to the house where I would be staying. Only 3 rooms remained in the small hotel that the embassy staff had picked up for us. There was no surprise given the reservation was made at the last minute. Mr. Rose, Lima, and Killian were checked into those rooms. The staff at the British Embassy, however, found a local family who was happy to welcome me into their home during my stay at Calcutta. Since I was the only one who spoke Hindi, it was thought more appropriate that I be the one to stay with them. I said goodbye to Killian and got out of the taxi. When I heard the second door slam, I turned around in surprise. I will walk you to the door and we'll meet this family. Why? I can cross the road by myself. Didn't you say that it's not safe in India? Yes, but only in dodgy areas. This is a nice neighborhood and I am due to stay with a good family. The door is like 40 feet away. I saw Killian frowning. He stared right at me with a stern look in his eyes. Miss Khan, my job is to keep you safe. Please, back off and let me work. Some choices are diamond choices, we get it. Fine. Come with me. I don't mind being escorted straight to the door. Despite his serious attitude, I caught a glimpse of amusement in his eyes. When the sun's rays hit his face, they turned a gleaming silver shade. He is glad you agreed right away. Good. I really didn't want to argue. I'm definitely not in the mood to argue today. And it's important for me to know the details, who you will be living with, who are these people. I am responsible for you. Does that sound funny? No, just curious. Does my job make you curious? I brushed him off nonchalantly. Okay, fine, don't take everything literally. If you say so. Together, we headed towards the house. What will you tell them? You don't speak Hindi. I just need to see them. The intensity with which Killian tackled every situation suddenly made me laugh. When we got to the door, he knocked. A few moments later, a young, modestly dressed woman opened the door. She immediately put her palms together and bowed her head slightly. Namaste, Miss Khan and... We heard other voices coming from behind her. The house's owners, an immaculately dressed couple, appeared in the doorway. Sanna, are you talking to our guest on the doorstep? When the woman saw that there was a man next to me, she was taken aback. Oh. Has Miss Khan arrived with company? Of course, she's not alone. She lightly nudged her husband in the side with her elbow. Decent unmarried young woman should always have a chaperone. Our well-mannered guest obviously comes from a good family. Everything needs to be explained to you. The man looked at his wife, slightly surprised. I just didn't expect Miss Khan is from England, after all. She also has lost sight of her good Indian upbringing. Why are we still talking on the door? Sanna, did you set the table? Yes, Miss Jahun. Looking at the couple, I unintentionally smiled. This is Captain Lightwood. You are right, he is my chaperone. Unfortunately, he doesn't speak Hindi, and he is in a rush. He was just come to meet you and express his gratitude for your hospitality. The woman beamed with a big, genuine smile. Oh, how wonderful. What a fine young man. Husband extended his hand to the captain, who confidently shook it. Killian bowed his head briefly and said in English, Amal, please tell them that I am very happy to meet them, but I must leave now. Killian nodded goodbye to my hosts and their maid, looked at me, and then headed back to the taxi. Miss Khan, come in, please. I was escorted into a spacious, bright living room. Modern furniture blended together with a rich traditional Indian furnishings. The room smelled of incense. Take a seat, honey. Sanna was at the table now. The maid nodded and immediately went into the dining room. We sat down on a sofa upholstered in luxurious fabric. My name is Aryan Shahun. This is my wife, Priyanka. We are honored to host you. Yes, we are really looking forward to your arrival. Make yourself at home. Thank you very much for your hospitality. You have been very helpful. Have you been to India before? No, this is my first time here. You must be very happy to set foot in your country of origin. The choice you make now will affect some of your character's attitude towards you. I mean, it seems very obvious you would be happy to be here. I have long dreamed of visiting. My roots are here. This is where my family comes from. I'm sure I'll love it. A smile lit up on the host's faces. Priyanka nodded. It's wonderful, my dear. India will become your second home. I'm sure of it. You made it clear that you're glad to be here. Thank you, Captain Obvious. The maid enters the living room. The table is set. Wonderful. Let us have lunch, and then you can pick your room. We headed into the dining room. After lunch, Mr. Kahun excused himself and retired to his office to work. Priyanka and Sanna took me to the second floor and showed me 3 rooms. We have a big house, but no children. So you can choose any room. They are all empty. I was shown every room. They were all next to each other. This must be basic room 1. Still nice. Ooh, I see incense on the table. By the way, I love incense. Used to be able to burn it more when I, was younger. Now it just agitates my lungs, in large quantities. It also depends on the incense. I like that room. That has so many pillows, holy shit. The rich room, the luxurious room, or the modest room. Well, I'm allowed to pick, so I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll go with the room with the, well, chest at the end of the bed, and I don't know. Eh. I don't really see this as a rich room, I digress. It's weird to call it that. This one is beautiful and cozy. May I move in here? Priyanka happily threw her hands up in the air. Oh, of course, not to ask. Why should such a beautiful room stay empty? Make this room your home. Sana, help our guest get settled. The woman looked up at me with her big brown eyes. Amala, make yourself at home. I'm close by if you need anything. Miss Cajon put her palms together, smiling, and left the room. Sana walked up to the bed and began changing the sheets, occasionally glancing at me. I dragged my suitcase to the closet, opened it, and started unpacking my things. They seem to be good people. I was lucky to be able to stay with them. Hosting foreigners and being proud about their good fortune must be something they value in their caste. By the way, I was wondering which chest they belong to. It's clear that it must be an upper, but which one? I don't even ask of what Mr. Kahan does for a living. Oh, I'll do that later. This con should be careful. In the silence, the maid's voice rang out, almost scaring me. I turned away from my thoughts and towards the young woman. I beg your pardon? Miss Khan has arrived in Calcutta at a very bad time. You need to be extremely careful. The young woman froze, looking down at the floor, and after a few seconds, she added more confidently, It's good that you have a man accompanying you. It will be better that way. But watch out, even with him, you might be in danger. I finally stopped what I was doing and took a few steps towards the maid. Santa, what are you talking about? What's happening in Calcutta? The young woman hesitated, squeezing the edge of the blankets in her fingers. I saw her worried black eyes dart back and forth. Something bad is going on in Calcutta. Something is coming. Something you should stay away from. As far away as possible. Santa, please be more specific. I don't understand. Durga Puja. Kali Puja. The disappearance of people from the upper chest. I felt my heart thumping in my chest. Pujas. Indian festivities? Yes. They are preparing for them. I chuckled nervously. Durga Puja is coming up. Don't leave your group that day. There are evil people out there. Wouldn't it be reckless to attack people from the higher caste? There are people who do not care. The maid continued to change the sheets as if the conversation had never happened. There was silence for a while, and then I got back to my suitcase. Santa's acting weird. There's no point in questioning her further. In any case, Killian will be with me. Although some people consider Durga a cruel goddess, the festival in her honor is usually fun. At least from what I've read. I spent the rest of the day sorting my things out. By the time Santa finished helping me, it was already late. The young woman warned me once more, and then left the room. And then, I was fast asleep. Slowly I began to stir, stayed in my bed, hoping to doze off again. Several minutes passed while I tossed and turned, trying to fall back asleep. Something was bothering me. An uncomfortable feeling woke me up. The feeling of someone else's gaze on me. I opened my eyes in complete darkness. A faint light spilled in from the street, hardly enough to outline the shapes of objects in the room. I looked around sleepily as I slowly lifted myself up on my elbows. My eyes had not yet gotten used to the darkness, and so I just blinked, not seeing anything. The feeling of someone else's gaze on me was still there. I realized that I didn't want to close my eyes and lie back down until I could see everything in the room. It took a minute for my eyes to get used to the darkness and be able to see the rest of the room. There was no one else there. I am imagining things. Here I am, lying awake like a fool, trying to figure out who knows what. It would be better to get a good night's sleep before going back to work tomorrow. I wanted to laugh at my own foolishness, but I didn't, because I heard a rustle. It sounded like a skirt's hem was dragging across the floor. I went numb. The silence was deafening and the rustling stood out so clearly. Okay. I peered in the darkest corners. I began to breathe deeply, trying to drown out the rustling sound with my breath. It's not funny anymore, Amala. You've heard some nonsense before going to bed, and now you're sitting here shaking. My voice rang out in the silence at some point. It seemed to me that the rustling started getting closer. It was coming right at me and getting louder. Okay, that's enough. I jumped out of bed, rushed to the floor lamp to turn on the light. With trembling fingers, I tried to switch it on. I turned around to make sure that no one was there. The room was empty, but I kept feeling someone else's presence and expecting a night visitor to suddenly reveal themselves. I didn't care if it turned out that I was just scared by the darkness. I ended up looking silly. I just wanted to turn on the light. What's with this bloody lamp? There was no light. I turned to the window and saw Calcutta in complete blackout. Not a single house was illuminated. The whole city was shrouded in darkness. The floorboards creaked behind me. We'll give you a 5-star for this one. So we've got 2 independence, 1 loyalty, 0 respect, 0 rage, 0 kindness. 30 diamonds. No diamond option, no little ad. I'm sad. So, thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Head down the description of the video, check out a few things and ways to support, and ways to be a bigger, or be a part of the bigger, better community. That being said, so we had a 4-way tie, no kidding, between Heart, Rage, Arcanum, and Callie. So, literally, you guys were not helpful at all. No, I'm kidding. So I was just like, you know what, let's just go with Callie and see. So yeah, I know Heaven's Seeker was another one that was popular, that I saw from, you know, popular, because you can select popular on the app. A lot of the other books that you guys told me about weren't even on there, so I'm guessing those are older ones. So at least the Callie one was a more recent one, I'm assuming, so. With that being said, unfortunately, the Diamond event is only for 11 more hours, so I'm going to try and at least get a couple more of these books, you know, open and get them checking out and whatnot. Maybe do, I don't know, maybe the first chapter of each one of these or something, you know, get it out there today. And so, yeah, let me know what you thought about this one. And without further ado, thank you for watching. Catch you all later. Peace out.